Ever fantasize about saying sayonara to the daily grind and building your own dream company? I know I have. It's exciting.
Right. Always.
But then, bam, reality sets in.
Yeah.
Funding.
It's always the funding.
It's the big question mark for so many aspiring entrepreneurs.
Definitely.
So today, we're tackling it head on. We're diving deep into the wild world of raising a seed round. And to guide us, we've got something pretty special, not just your average advice column.
Oh,
We've got Lenny's newsletter.
okay. I've heard of that.
But here's the kicker. They haven't just thrown together some generic tips. They've gone straight to the source, talked to founders who've collectively raised billions. We're talking about the people behind companies like Figma and Notion, the real deal.
That's awesome.
And they're sharing their secrets, their no BS advice on what it really takes to secure those early stage dollars. So think of this as your cheat sheet, your backstage pass to the world of seed funding.
Love it. Let's do it.
And you know what? Before we even get to things like crafting the perfect pitch deck or charming investors, Lenny's throws us a bit of a curveball.
Really? What's that?
They ask a question that might seem a little, well, counterintuitive. Should you even raise money at all?
It's such a fundamental question, and, it's one that every founder should seriously consider before diving headfirst into the fundraising frenzy.
Right. It's not just about getting a yes from an investor. It's about figuring out if that's even the right path for your business, for your vision.
Exactly. Take Christina Cacioppo, for instance. She's the founder of Vanta, and she's all about aiming for massive scale. Absolutely. But she's also refreshingly honest about the trade-offs that come with chasing that kind of growth, particularly when you're relying on venture capital to get there.
So what she's saying is if you're not ready to give up some control, maybe VC funding isn't the right fit.
Yeah, it's about finding investors who align with your values, who understand your long-term vision, and who are willing to be true partners, not just cash machines.
It's like choosing your allies for a really important quest.
I like that analogy.
So not every business is going for like Google-level domination, right?
And that's where the beauty of bootstrapping comes in. You get to call the shots, especially in those early vulnerable stages when you're still figuring things out. And honestly, plenty of successful businesses prove you don't need a fat bank account from VCs to make it big.
It's like choosing your own adventure. Each path has its own set of challenges and rewards.
I love that. It's about weighing those options, right? Figuring out what level of control you're comfortable with, what kind of growth trajectory you're aiming for, and whether outside funding is the fuel you need to get there, or if you can power up on your own steam.
And that's where I think Jason Fried's perspective is so interesting. He's the founder of Basecamp, and he's a huge advocate for, well, putting off fundraising for as long as possible.
He's all about that earn your stripes mentality, and you know what? I kind of love it.
Why do you think that is? Why delay the inevitable? Why not get the cash early on?
Well, as Fried sees it, becoming reliant on investor dollars right out of the gate can create some not-so-great habits. Well, for one, you might not be as laser-focused on generating revenue from day one if you've got a nice cushion of VC money in the bank.
It's kind of like the difference between being handed a winning lottery ticket and working hard to build a successful business from scratch, right?
Exactly. When you're bootstrapping, you're forced to learn how to swim without floaties, to be resourceful, scrappy, and to build something sustainable.
And you know what's interesting? Sometimes when you just focus on building something truly exceptional, something that solves a real problem and gets people excited, the funding finds you.
That's a great point.
Take Ivan Zhao, the founder of Notion, for example. He poured his heart and soul into creating a truly phenomenal product, and guess what? Investors came knocking.
They saw the value, the potential, and they wanted in. It's a powerful reminder that, at the end of the day, product market fit should be your obsession, not just chasing dollar signs.
Obsess over the product, not the pitch deck. Got it.
Exactly.
But, okay, let's be real. At some point, many startups, even the most promising ones, are going to need an extra boost to really level up, to scale their operations and reach a wider audience.
Makes sense.
So when you are ready to start courting those investors, what are they really looking for? I mean, it can feel like you need a decoder ring just to decipher their feedback sometimes.
Right. It's like they're speaking a different language. I hear you. It's not enough to just tell investors you've got the next big thing. You've got to show them.
Exactly. It's not just about passion. It's about proving you're willing to go all in.
They want to see that you're not all talk, that you actually walk the walk.
Show me the money. Or, well, show them money, I guess.
Right. And Lenny's newsletter does a fantastic job of breaking down what exactly those investors are looking for. They call it the three proofs.
Okay, I like it. Lay it on me. What are these three magic proofs?
So first up, you got to prove your commitment. And this is personal. Are you really all in on this?
So we're not talking about just like kind of sort of being interested in your idea, right? This
Yeah.
has got to be something you live and breathe.
Exactly. Think of it like that burning the ships mentality.
Hmm.
You're on this island, there's no turning back.
I like it. Dramatic.
Mhm.
So quitting your job, that becomes like a grand gesture of faith.
It shows investors you're serious, you believe in this enough to bet big on yourself, but commitment alone isn't going to cut it.
Okay, what else? What's proof number two?
Proof of work. This is where the rubber meets the road. Tomer London, the founder of Gusto, he's a big believer in this.
What's his take?
Extensive customer validation. We're talking over 100 conversations for consumer products, 30 plus for business to business. You can't just say people want what you're selling. You got to prove it.
It's not just asking your mom if she likes your logo. You're really digging deep, figuring out what your target market actually needs.
It's about de-risking the investment, showing those investors you're not just building something cool, you're building something people will actually pay for.
Makes sense, but there's got to be more to it than just commitment and putting in the work, right?
You're right. The third piece of the puzzle is proving your insight.
What makes this different than just being, good at what you do?
Insight is about seeing what others miss. It's about having that deep understanding of the problem, the solution, and why you're the perfect person to tackle it.
Okay, I think I get it. It's one thing to offer a Band-Aid. It's a whole other thing to revolutionize healthcare. You've got to have that vision.
Exactly. It's about being more than just a solution provider. You're a visionary. And investors, they can sniff that out. They want to be a part of something groundbreaking.
They want to be in on the next big thing for sure. But okay, let's say you've got those three proofs locked down. You've got the investors hooked. They're buying what you're selling. How do you actually decide how much money to ask for? Do you just throw out a crazy high number and hope for the best?
Tempting, right. But there's actually a method to the madness. Lenny's newsletter highlights this thing called the 24 to 36-month runway rule.
Okay, break that down for me.
Basically, you want to raise enough cash to operate comfortably for 2 to 3 years. That doesn't mean blow it all in one place, but enough to give you a solid runway to hit those milestones, achieve product market fit, maybe even start gearing up for that next funding round.
It's like packing enough snacks for a road trip. You don't want to run out of fuel before you reach your destination.
Perfect analogy. But you also don't want to overpack.
There's such a thing as having too much cash.
You'd be surprised. Raising too much, too early, can lead to some bad habits. You might get complacent, overspend, lose that scrappy, resourceful edge that helped you get this far.
Okay, so you figured out how much, you've got your proofs lined up. How do you make investors drool over the opportunity to fund you? Is it all about a killer pitch deck and some fancy jargon?
A well-crafted pitch is important, sure, but honestly, it goes way deeper than that.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the secret sauce?
This is where the psychology of fundraising comes in. Remember that feeling you get when you just have to have something? That fear of missing out.
Oh, FOMO. It's a powerful thing.
It's your secret weapon in the world of fundraising.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. So how do we leverage this whole FOMO thing to our advantage?
One really effective tactic is setting a tight timeline for your fundraising. Make it a bit exclusive.
So instead of it being this open-ended thing, you create a sense of urgency.
Exactly. People want what they can't have or what they think someone else might get first. And another strategy is building social proof.
Oh, right. Like everyone's talking about this new restaurant, so you just have to try it.
Exactly. Starting with a few smaller checks can actually work in your favor. It shows momentum, gets people excited, creates a buzz.
So it's like if these other investors are in, then I don't want to miss out either. I love it.
And once you've got that momentum going, it can be a lot easier to land those larger investments. But remember, it's not just about the money. It's about the people behind those checks.
Because not all investors are created equal, right? It's about finding the right fit. It's true. Not all money is created equal, and finding the right investors is, well, kind of a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Think of it like choosing a hiking buddy for a challenging track. Sure, anyone can tag along, but do you want someone who's going to complain the whole time? Someone who doesn't share your vision for the journey?
You're looking for someone who's got your back, who's in it for the long haul, not just a quick photo op at the summit.
Exactly. And Eric Lyman, he's the founder of Ramp. He had some great advice for founders who are navigating this whole investor selection process.
Ooh, I love his insights. What's he saying?
He's all about due diligence, but not just the financial kind. He tells founders to reach out to other founders who've actually worked with the investors you're considering.
So it's like checking those online reviews before you book a hotel room, but instead of complaints about the thread count of the sheets, it's about whether this investor is truly helpful or a total nightmare to work with.
Love that analogy. You want the inside scoop.
Because the last thing you need is an investor who's all talk and no action, or even worse, someone who's constantly second-guessing your every move.
Micromanagers, beware. And this is where that concept of trust comes into play big time.
Because at the end of the day, it is a relationship, right?
It is. Mathilde Cullen, the founder of Front, she talks about this. She's big on the whole you trust them, they trust you philosophy when it comes to investors.
It's got to be a two-way street built on mutual